I want to introduce you all to something called web services and OData feeds, and I think this is why Dynamics is in a league of its own when it comes to management software. So web services are external access to your data. It still requires you to log in using your Dynamics login, but it allows you to extract the data into Excel or, for example, Power BI. So all Power BI is essentially a feed of web services that are fed into Power BI and then essentially put into basically pivot tables, just much prettier with some auto refreshers. But all of this data can be extracted into Excel. Um, these are all your web services. We do a lot of work in here in creating the reports, but we can be really creative with what web services that we make available. And you can pretty much do with this data whatever you like. So use it for marketing, you can use it for operations, use it for reporting, you can use it to understand who you owe money to and who owe money to you, etc. In this example, we're going to export our customer ledger entries and analyze them in Excel and just see who's spent what and who owes us what. So what you're looking for is the OData v4 URL. On yours, you may need to edit the URL so it's actually your company name. I'll put a bit more information in the Facebook group about that. But in this example, I don't need to edit anything. So I'm going to look for customer ledger entries, which is this one here. I'm then going to take a copy of this link here. Now I'm going to go into Excel. You do need the latest version of Excel, so I'd recommend getting an Office 365 subscription, which we can supply for you. And we're going to go to Data, Get Data from Other Sources, OData Feed. And then we simply just type in this OData URL. Now, because I've already registered this Excel account with that Dynamics account, it didn't ask me for my credentials, but it would ask you for your Garage Hive login details, so it is secure. And if we load this in, we've essentially then got the customer ledger entries, which are just all the sales, payments, invoices, credits, etc., amounts. You just basically get a table. The great thing about this is you don't need to do that ever again. You simply just refresh the table here. So if more transactions happen and I want to analyze them in a pivot table, which I'm going to make in a minute, all I need to do is just refresh this data, much like Power BI. So at the minute, this is pretty difficult to actually understand or make any sense of at all. So for those who aren't aware of pivot tables are a way of slicing table data into much more understandable formats. I recommend you watch some YouTube videos on pivot tables. I'm just going to make a very quick one. So I click anywhere on the table, I go to Insert, Pivot Table, and press OK. So now I have the data here and I have these 4 columns here. So essentially I'm going to make I'm going to make 2 reports. One which lets me look at what customers have spent over a period of time, and one that lets me look at what customers owe over a period of time. So if I, in the rows, I'm going to add the customer names. So you can see here, I'll just zoom in. See here I've got 5 customers. And then in the columns, I'm going to select just amount. So we see we've got an amount of £492.22 here. And then I'm going to create a filter. So let's just have a look what we've got here. Document type. Okay. So if I select invoice, right, okay. So what I've just done, I've just added a column for the amount, a row for the customer names, and then all I want to look at are the invoices, for example. And I've very easily just achieved that with these down here. So now I'm going to add some more columns, and I'm going to add dates. So we'll say we want the posting date to be the columns. So now I can see customer by month. And then if I want to, I can actually go into the month as well and actually look at the days the customer spent money with us. And likewise, let's say I wanted to filter to just have a look at which customers have had credits, I can do. And then what's really cool, if I want to drill into this data, so say I wanted to see what Alex Lindley's invoices were on March, if I double click on it, I then get access straight to those transactions. So I'm just going to go back to the pivot table. And now I'm going to change it from sum of amount to remaining amount. So this is showing me what customers still owe what. And you can see here that this is owed from April. And I think within here on the right hand side, I should have the due date somewhere. Yep, due date. So what I can actually do is change the posting date to the due date. So then I can actually look who owes what money on what particular date in Excel. Now the great thing about this is I can just save this and this can just be my customer record. You can do this for items, job sheets, vehicles, you name it. It can be dragged into Excel. You can create a pivot table and it can just be accessed and just sliced like this. So just to prove how instant this data actually is, I'm just going to very quickly post a job sheet. We'll just select this one. If you bear with me just one very quick second. So I've just posted that job sheet. So now if I go back to Excel, I want to refresh this data. So I'll just click refresh, it's loaded. See, we've just had that extra table loading down here immediately. Then if I go back to the pivot table and I refresh the pivot table, we can see that Dawn now owes that money. So incredibly powerful. This is why Garage Hive and Dynamics is so good. This is quite advanced and it's not something that we really support, but those of you that are quite technical, just give it a go. It's actually quite simple once you get into the swing of it and incredibly powerful. Look forward to your comments.